My name is Dr. Samuel Wheeler, and I am research historian here at the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum in Springfield, Illinois.
And I am Dr. James Cornelius, the curator of the Lincoln Collection here at the Presidential Library and Museum. And Sam and I are going to tell you a few of the behind the scenes and unusual and interesting stories about some of the artifacts in our new show, Undying Words. Come with us, please.
So we're in front of sort of really the final piece of this exhibit. This is the scene that has the bed that Abraham Lincoln passed away in, which I think is an amazing piece of American history to have in this exhibit. And I have a confession for you, James. The first time that I went into the Lincoln Vault, and I looked at the objects that we have, the artifacts, all the documents, the letters, I have to say that these gloves were the thing that really gave me chills. Really gave me chills.
It's not an unusual feeling, I guess. Some people are really moved by his stovepipe hat, by the Gettysburg Address, by Mary's diamond necklace. But this is terribly moving. And some people say, well, no, those can't be Lincolns. They look too small.
Too small, yeah. At first, that's the first thing you really think of as you're looking at them.
And it's not the case. They're made of kid leather, so they have shrunk a little. It's not like these are vinyl that will always stay the same.
The idea reminds me, and you were a baseball player once upon a time. You remember your batting gloves? Your batting gloves would always contract. They'd shrink up.
Do. And your real mitt too. You know, you gotta put the neat's foot oil in there. But to be a little more respectful here, I'm 6'2". Lincoln was 6'4". He was a bigger man than I in all respects. But I lay my hand out there more or less at that angle. And yeah, it's about the same size as mine. The fingers are a little longer, as you'd expect. What's deceiving is that they've kind of contracted this way because that's the direction of the seams and the natural grain of the kid leather. So they've come together that way. But the length is still right. And the blood stains are mostly there on the thumb sides. And, you know, I've got that proof of, the proofs in the placing, so to speak. You think about why it ended up there. Well, when I put on my curator's gloves and I'm handling something, I take them off like this, and I put them in my pocket, and it's pretty much thumbs up. Thumb side is up, and this is where the blood sort of seems to have reached him. But around this, we've got these other remarkable relics. This print, The Last Hours of Lincoln, is extremely rare because it never went into commercial production. Here's a case in which, we know there was a huge demand for all this stuff, the 1860 Lincoln and Hamlin memorabilia, the Lincoln and Johnson stuff. You get into the Assassination period, and there's an assistant to the undertaker who cuts off a piece of Lincoln's shirt illegally, pins it to a letter, sends it to his friend. Says, I could get $5 or $10 for this, Johnny, but I'm giving it to you out of friendship. This mad collecting business. There's a soldier who gets into Ford's Theater or gets a friend into Ford's Theater and gets a couple of pieces of the curtain and the curtain tie from the presidential box. But this thing is this beautiful piece of art that shows all 47 people who made their way through the
that's the first observation many people have when you go to see the room. You see that it's a small room. There's not all these people couldn't have fit in that room at the same time. No way.
But they wanted to be collected together that way.
Of course.
But the artist, John Batchelder, took so long to get this together that it was 3 years after Lincoln had died before the prints were ready. And there was no market anymore. People lost interest. So we have the proof. Batchelder's proof of the print. Now, there are two paintings that this is based on, and the original paintings belong to the Chicago History Museum. our collaborator on this cool exhibit, and Brown University in Rhode Island. Well, Chicago couldn't bring their painting to display for this show. It's too big, and we didn't have a good place to put it, so the designer did this really creative thing. They reproduce it right here behind the bed itself. So you can see what this looks like live and in color from the painting by Alonzo Chappell. And then you can see John Batchelder's black and white print of it right here. And you've got the key to the names. So Sam, have you ever looked through this list of the 47 names?
It is interesting to look at it. The name that jumps out at me, that's Andrew Johnson sitting right there, right?
Yeah.
Do we have any evidence that he visited Lincoln on his deathbed?
There was debate about this after various things that he wasn't very popular with the administration. But yes, he was definitely there. That has been proven almost categorically. And then
I wonder if there was a political motive behind putting him in here 3 years after.
No. I mean, he was actually there on the night of. But I see your point. Good point. No, the problem is that you've just had this attack on the federal government by some people who are trying to decapitate the federal executive. And would you bring them all into the same room at once? Well, Seward wasn't there. Seward was dying down the street, people thought. Would you let Andrew Johnson come into the room where the president is dying?
Sure.
Modern Secret Service protocols would tell you, no, keep him 1,000 miles away from here. But Johnson did come, and so did the entire cabinet. So just by chance, Governor Oglesby of Illinois was in town at the time.
Yeah.
Isham Haney, the commandant of all Illinois, the leading military figure in Illinois at the time, whose old house is on 6th Street here near the clinic. He was in the room there, just by chance. They were in Washington, so they all come through and pay homage. And then there's Mrs. Kinney and Miss Kinney. Who the heck are they?
Yeah.
Well, friends of friends. Miss Harris, unfortunately, who was in the box.
Miss Kinney, Clara Harris, and Mary Lincoln, are those the only women that are depicted here?
I think that's right. The four ladies. The four ladies are the only ones. The two Kinney women, Clara Harris and Mary Lincoln. No, is that right? Mary had a couple of her friends down the hall. Mrs. Wells, Secretary of the Navy's wife, and Mrs. Dixon, Senator from Connecticut. She was also there to help Mary get through this horrid night.
Awful.
Yeah. Well, so then, soldiers collecting memorabilia.
Pieces of wallpaper, pieces of the curtain. I know that this room got picked apart pretty well, too.
Yeah.
But I just keep coming back to that centerpiece of the gloves. It's an object that you see, Abraham Lincoln touched those. It's a piece of Abraham Lincoln, and then it is a testament to the brutal murder, his final moments. Just a real piece of American history.
Yeah.